You ran a manufacturing business for years in Wisconsin. I assume that's what sort of informed some of your skepticism about the effectiveness of tariffs as a long-term economic policy. Am I picking something up there?
Good morning, Chris. No, you're exactly right. One thing I learned in the private sector is, unpredictability can work pretty well in a negotiation, but the private sector, businesses want certainty, they want stability, they don't like to see volatility. And so I've just been questioning exactly what's the end game here, what's the strategy. From my standpoint, I think trade is good. You obtain goods from people that have a comparative advantage of producing those particular goods, and you sell them things where we have the comparative advantage. So I'm an unabashed free trader. I can understand that there could be some good uses for tariffs. President Trump has proven that. For example, when he threatened Mexico with tariffs, if they wouldn't cooperate with remain in Mexico, that helps secure the border. So there's certainly a use for it, but tariffs are a double-edged sword and a pretty blunt instrument.
Okay, it's pretty hard to get a grasp of which one of those two things the administration thinks this is. We hear some people that are basically saying that these are, what you say, a tool to get to more free trade. And then there are others who say that this is economic policy to encourage more manufacturing of consumer goods in the U.S. The president's decision over the weekend to drop tariffs on consumer electronics from China suggests maybe that the free traders are winning that argument. Do you get, from where you sit, any good sense of how to interpret this? Is this industrial policy or diplomacy?
Well, I appreciate the pause. My guess is that pause would be primarily prompted by the fact that the market's tanked. That should have give everybody a pause for concern. Again, from my standpoint, you definitely want to have free and open trade. I don't really want to use tariffs as a revenue raiser. That just puts more revenue in the federal coffers. I think we need to shrink the size of government. So my focus has been on spending, spending, spending. We went from $4.4 trillion spending in 2019 to over $7 trillion probably this year. It's completely unjustified. We need to return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level of spending as a baseline, and that's certainly what I'm focusing most of my attention on right now.
Okay, it has obviously been no secret that you're no fan of the budget reconciliation process so far, talking about those getting back to pre-pandemic levels. You wanted much deeper cuts and no increase to the debt limit in the Senate's version of that budget blueprint. You even urged House members not to rubber stamp what the Senate sent them, but you did vote for it. What we keep hearing from conservatives is that the fight comes later when the specifics all get hammered out. We are there. And it seems like members in both chambers have been papering over some huge disagreements. My question for you, if you don't get the cuts that you want, if you don't get the debt ceiling yanked out, are you willing to walk away from the deal when we get to this late summer or fall or whenever we get down to the nitty-gritty?
Well, first of all, to be talking about cuts is just the wrong way to approach this. Most of us campaigned on zero-based budgeting. What I'm proposing is let's start at $5.5 to $6.5 trillion. I've laid out previous pre-pandemic spending levels, plus those up by population growth and inflation, and you'd end up with somewhere between $5.5 and $6.5 trillion versus the over $7 trillion. So again, I'm talking about returning to a reasonable baseline of spending. An analogy I use is if a family had a sick family member, they had to borrow $50,000 to pay for medical bills. That family member got well. No family would keep borrowing $50,000 and spend that level. That's exactly what we've done. So don't talk about cuts. Talk about returning to a reasonable pre-pandemic spending level and base it on prior years. I've chosen Clinton of 1998, Obama 2014, or Trump 2019. Again, took their total outlays, exempted Social Security, Medicare, and interest, spend what we're spending on those, and plus those up by increases in population, inflation, and magically you end up at $5.5 to $6.5 trillion of spending. 5.5 would just about balance the budget. So again, concentrate on spending, spending, spending. I'm not interested in increasing taxes. Again, you can use tariffs a certain way. I don't really want to use them to raise revenue to put money into the federal coffers. You raise revenue by growing your economy, having a simplified and rational tax system that incentivizes economic growth, not just slapping on higher tax rates or, again, engaging in a massive trade war that obviously has disrupted and scared the markets.
Thanks for watching.
Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.